Did you realize you can be fully alert, crushing your deadlines, and still feel completely disconnected? Not asleep, not lazy, just mentally hijacked, like someone swapped your brain for a browser with 100 tabs open. Some of them blaring, some muted, and in the middle, God help you, Spotify trying to autoplay Coldplay again. That's not stress. That's not the chaos of modern life. That's a full-blown identity crisis running on autopilot. But here's the wild truth. You don't even see it happening. You're scrolling, working, replying to group chats you hate, calling it productivity. Meanwhile, your soul is somewhere in the background, lighting a cigarette, whispering, "This is fine." You believe everything's okay, until something small cracks, and for me, it was pants. One morning, I thought I was fully dressed. Shirt, socks, belt, check. But then I looked down and saw I'd been standing there for 6 minutes, with no pants, toothbrush in hand, mentally gone. Not scrolling, not thinking, just buffering, like my brain needed a restart and had forgotten where it left the USB stick. That's when it hit me. I wasn't tired, I wasn't behind, I was fogged out, living under a cloud of distraction. Functioning, yes, but flat, no vibrancy, no color, just beige. That's the fog. It doesn't crash like a storm. It seeps in, slowly, quietly, like a gas leak. The day I realized I was mentally checked out, gradually, silently, until one day you realize you've been breathing in poison, calling it air, and no one warns you because we've accepted it as normal. Haha, I'm just a hot mess express. You're hurting, but the world loves it when you're too distracted to do anything about it. And I was in the same boat, drowning in noise, calling it progress, until I hit a wall made of calendar invites and unread notifications and my own thoughts, screaming over each other like drunk raccoons in a group chat. That was my breaking point. Not some grand revelation, no mountaintop, no enlightenment, just a pantsless guy staring at himself in the mirror, thinking, this can't be peak human awareness. But here's the truth. That tiny, absurd moment, that was the start. Because once you recognize the fog, you can't unsee it. And that's when everything begins to shift. Because what follows is clarity. Dangerous, raw, and profoundly peaceful clarity. But first, you've got to walk straight into the chaos. You know those shows, the ones where someone's entire house is buried under newspapers, broken appliances, and dozens of cats named after cereals. That was my mind. I wasn't lazy. I was hoarding thoughts, old ones, dumb ones, regret-shaped ones, to-do lists from years ago, a mountain of half-finished ideas, stacked like emotional Jenga. And every day, it felt like the whole thing might topple if I moved too quickly. I didn't even see it happening, because nobody talks about mental clutter. We wear being busy like a badge of honor, wear burnout like a crown. Look how exhausted I am. Must mean I'm important. Nope, you're just running on empty. Your brain's a 5-lane highway, backed up all the way to your childhood, and you can feel it. The fatigue that sleep doesn't fix, the irritability, the guilt that twitches in your eye when someone asks, "Quick question." You're full and trying to squeeze in more. For me, the breaking point wasn't some big crisis. It was traffic. 47 minutes lost an exit, then someone cut me off, and I sat there screaming into the steering wheel like a man being tortured by Google Maps. And then I laughed, because I finally saw it. I wasn't mad about the traffic, I was angry at everything. The obligations I never said no to, the people I was trying to impress, the version of myself I was pretending to be, all of it piled high. No wonder my mind couldn't think straight. It was full of crap I didn't even want. That's what mental hoarding does. It doesn't just weigh you down, it warps your reality. You start reacting to the wrong things, crying over spilled smoothie, when really, it's the 6 months of silent resentment you've been choking down. You snap at dishes in the sink because you haven't had a real moment to breathe in weeks. It builds quietly, until one day, you lose your temper over a traffic light and everything finally clicks. This isn't sustainable. And no one's coming to rescue you from your overloaded mind. That's when I knew either I clear this clutter or I keep breaking in small, absurd ways until there's nothing left. And that was the beginning of real change. There I was, after the traffic meltdown, After the emotional breakdown, staring out my windshield like I just witnessed the end of civilization. I decided to try something different, not therapy, journaling, or a digital detox, just silence. 1 minute, that's all. No phone, no noise, no plans, just me, a chair, and nothing else. Sounds simple, right? It was terrifying. You'd think I was sitting in a room full of snakes. My mind freaked out, like someone pulled the fire alarm. It started throwing everything at me. What if you never make it? Did you reply to that email? Remember that thing you said in 2014? Oh, and the Pokemon theme song on repeat, because of course. But I didn't move. I didn't run. I just let it happen. 60 seconds of mental chaos. And somewhere within that storm, I heard it. My voice, not loud, but underneath the chaos, quiet, exhausted, real. It said, "You don't have to live like this." I hadn't heard that voice in years, not because I wasn't speaking, but because I was too loud to listen. That's when I understood. Clarity isn't about gaining insight. It's about clearing away the interference. Your inner compass works perfectly. You've just buried it beneath notifications, obligations, and TikToks about how to fix your entire life in 30 seconds. We chase the next hack, the next plan, the next quick fix. But the most powerful shift? Just stop talking, pause, be still. Because when you stop flooding every moment with input, the truth begins to surface. Not always pretty, but real. Sometimes it whispers what you've been avoiding, and that's the point. You can't clean your house in the dark. And most of us live in pitch black, wondering why we keep tripping over furniture that once changed everything. Not because it fixed us, but because it revealed what needed fixing. Not through force, through stillness. So I kept going, 1 minute, then 2, then 10. Some days were messy, some sacred, but every step brought me closer to me, the real self beneath the noise. And that self? Not broken, just buried. Nobody warns you that clarity will upset people. They expect you to become more peaceful, and they'll cheer you on from the sidelines. But nope, try again. The moment you start saying no, the entire world begins to twitch. What do you mean you can't make it? Why didn't you respond earlier? You've changed. Yeah, I have, on purpose. You realize how tough it is. Most of your life has been a series of obligations you never chose, conversations you didn't want, a life you didn't craft. It's like waking up in the middle of surgery, suddenly aware that you're in the middle of something, and you don't remember saying yes. But you did. Every silent nod, every "I got it," even when you absolutely didn't. That stuff adds up, and one day you find yourself rage cleaning the kitchen because someone asked you to bring cupcakes to a party you didn't want to attend. That's when the no begins. At first, it's awkward, over-explaining, apologizing. Not right now, maybe later. Knowing full well there's no later. But then it clicks. You don't owe anyone your depletion. You don't have to justify protecting your peace. It's not a crime. So I started saying it, just no. No to back-to-back Zoom calls. No to draining conversations. No to being available 24/7 like some spiritual vending machine. People noticed. Some got offended. They said, "You used to be so responsive." I said, "I used to be so exhausted." They said, "You're hard to reach lately." I said, "I'm finally reachable to myself." Because here's the truth. If you're always accessible to everyone else, you become inaccessible to the one person who matters most, yourself. And that's not selfish, that's survival. Clarity doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing less of what slowly drains you. Every noise a boundary, a line in the sand a declaration. Your life isn't a public space, open 24/7. At first, it feels uncomfortable. Guilt creeps in. You'll wonder if you're being too harsh, but then something shifts, you feel lighter. Like you've just unstrapped a backpack full of bricks and remembered you have a backbone. That's the power of no. It doesn't close doors, it opens space to breathe, clarity, and most importantly, you. And when you protect that space long enough, it becomes sacred. You stop apologizing for your truth. You start guarding it because it's everything. Most people won't admit clarity isn't cozy. It's not the scented candle version of peace. It's disruptive. It strips away the false comforts, the illusions you cling to, the masks you hide behind. Because when your mind clears, even just a little, you begin to see. The relationships that no longer serve you, the job that's quietly draining your spirit, the habits that once seemed harmless but were just numbness. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's the real danger. You become incompatible with your old life. You stop tolerating what you used to excuse. Stop laughing at jokes that don't resonate. Walk out of conversations halfway through because your body can't sit through another cycle of empty chatter. People notice. Some admire, some resent, because your clarity holds up a mirror. Not everyone's ready to look. You're no longer playing their game. You're not chasing approval or trying to fit into someone else's mold. You walk with that look in your eye, the one that says, I know who I am, and I will not negotiate anymore. And that's scary, not because you're intimidating, but because you're free. And freedom has a frequency, it makes the unhealed twitch. But it also calls in your true tribe, the ones who've done their own inner work, the ones who don't need you to be confused to feel better about themselves. And suddenly everything shifts. Your phone's quieter, your energy lighter, your time becomes sacred. You unsubscribe from drama, from outdated stories, from fake urgency. And that quiet space, the one you used to avoid, becomes your sanctuary. And the more you live from that space, the more allergic you become to anything pulling you back into chaos. Urgency, superficial validation, chaotic relationships held together by exhaustion. You don't argue. You don't try to convince anyone. You simply step away, peacefully because your peace is priceless. And that's what makes you dangerous, not to others, but to systems built on your confusion, to beliefs that keep you obedient, to masks you wear just to survive a world that told you honesty was too much. But now, you understand, clarity isn't cold. It's warm, like a fire you ignite within. And once you taste that warmth, there's no going back, even if you wanted to. There's a moment, maybe after a week of silence, or a random Tuesday when you forget to distract yourself. When the noise finally fades, not suddenly, not with fireworks, but gradually, like a faucet turning off, drip by drip. And what remains isn't music, motivation, or applause. It's pure stillness. At first, it's unsettling. Your mind is used to chaos, like it's home. It starts panicking, throwing memories, doubts, warnings, all the stuff you didn't ask for, all the embarrassing things you said late at night. But if you sit with it, breathe through it, something shifts. The static clears. And beneath all the layers, all the noise, you find yourself not the curated, polished version, but the real you, the one before the world told you who to be. And that person? Not broken, not lost, not weak, just buried under expectations, survival mode, and years of pretending. The quiet beneath the noise, it's the space where you no longer need what you've always sought: peace, presence, purpose, not a checklist, not fleeting dopamine hits, but genuine connection to yourself. And that connection, it whispers. It says, hey, I'm still here, I've been waiting. And when you really listen, truly hear, it all falls silent. Not because the world changed, but because you've stopped fighting from within. That's what clarity really is. Not control, not perfection. It's the brave act of showing up fully without constantly trying to escape. And once you experience that stillness, just once, you'll never forget it. It becomes your guiding light, your anchor, your I don't need to chase anything today energy. And yes, the world will keep turning. Emails will still arrive. People will try to drag you back into chaos. But now you know, the way out isn't a plan, it's a choice. One breath, one boundary, one moment of silence at a time. And maybe, just maybe, the clearest version of yourself isn't something you chase after. It's something you come back to. Something that was never broken, just covered in dust, waiting patiently to be uncovered the moment you finally stop running. So, if you're still here, if you've listened all the way, don't rush to fix or change anything. Don't add more noise. Just pause, right now, and feel it. The stillness beneath the chaos. The part of you that's always been there, quiet, powerful, terrifyingly clear, finally fully awake.